Well, I mean, again, our apps are more models than games. So I think that there is a place for it, especially in things like math or English games where you're learning a skill. The apps that we create aren't really about learning the skills. They're more about exploration and getting into a subject and studying it really deeply. So, we don't really the gamification in our human body app might be making it throw up. So that's, it's not really a game in a traditional sense. It's figuring out sort of the cause and effect of things. The question is, how do we talk about screen time? A screen is just a medium to me. So it's obviously I'm in the business of making things for screens. I think there's good media and bad media, just like there are good books and bad books for kids. My kids bring home a lot of books from school that I think are crap books that I would rather not have them read. So I think if obviously the medium of an iPad is a very it's a very seductive medium, and so and because of the controls on it, it's very easy for a kid to click from one thing to another. So I think the important thing is editing what you're putting on that screen so that he has good choices. I think we limit it in the way I think a lot of parents limit it in just giving a set time. So we have screen time, we have reading time, we have play time. I do think that my kids go to a very progressive school, and it's a progressive school that very much puts kids at the center of things, and in large part it's good, but there's also real problems with discipline, with self-control, with rigor. A lot of those kids have a really hard time following through on something that's hard. So I think if you put the kids at the center too much, you lose some of those things, so self-control and the ability to do something they don't want to do. I mean, a lot of life is doing things that we don't want to do. So, we have a balance. We do, in our family, my wife, some people might call her a tiger mom. Our kids do piano and violin, and they hate it. They absolutely hate it. But little by little, they are making music, and they are seeing progress, and it's really important. My older kid in school wasn't doing as well as we thought he could. And last summer, my wife put him in this Chinese, it's a Chinese school in Bushwick that's very, very traditional and very, very rigorous, and it has a lot of competition. And when they finish their tests, they post them on the board, and everybody can see, how they rate against everybody else. And coming from a school where there are no grades and no homework, it was a shock to him. But he suddenly got much, much better at math. So, I think there's a balance, and it's different for different kids. Are the apps being used by kids with autism? Is that the question? Yes, we actually have a lot of evidence, direct evidence from parents and schools of autistic kids, that these sandbox type apps that don't have specific levels and aren't frustrating to kids maybe in the same way as a traditional game seem to be very popular, and I've seen it firsthand. I know some parents of autistic kids that have been very, very happy about our app because it seems to unlock something in them. It seems to unlock this ability to not only interact but also to have questions and to engage. Our app we think is a tool. It's a tool, and it's the first in a series. And I think eventually, when we have the whole series out, it will be a really useful tool in a lot of different contexts. My hope is that apps like ours and companies like ours that are really doing a lot of research, that are embedding that research and interaction will be used in schools. Right now, there's just a very narrow, a lot of the educational apps that exist right now are very much like in a web context. They're sort of click and point rather than for a mobile context and using sort of all the things that you have in a mobile device. So as the world sort of increasingly goes to mobile, I think that there will be better tools, and I hope there will be. And we'll try very hard to make them. Yeah, we do a ton of user testing. I start with my own kids, and we test in schools. We have in-office user testing, and we learn a lot from it. I mean, we start just by having them look at images and asking what they see, because sometimes they're not seeing what we think they're seeing, and we are trying to embed that stuff in there. I think my main usage insight is that kids are much more sophisticated than we give them credit for. I mean, I think if you looked at user testing, if you look at user testing theory from a few years ago, there's a lot of things that say that buttons have to be gigantic and that that everything has to be very much sort of linear. But kids, an 8 or 9-year-old now has pretty much grown up with a mobile device, in his reach, and they know how to navigate much more fluently than we give them credit for often. There are still things that I mean, we make mistakes all the time, and we learn them. You learn them very quickly. Well, I mean, that part of it doesn't seem too hard to me. I mean, I'm a pretty straight-laced person, but when I'm at home with my kids, we have silly kicks night, where we sort of walk around and see who can do the silliest kick. So I mean, I don't think that stuff is that hard. It's just sort of having the time and to do it. I mean, whimsy in apps, I think a lot of times can feel forced. I mean, I think you have to work with people who genuinely have a slightly skewed version of the world, and those people are often like the people that make the most interesting things. Yeah, well, I mean, I think, I mean, the truth is that I mean, in my own life, I mean, we've had a lot of tragic things happen relatively recently. I mean, and I think luckily, throughout my kids' lives, we've read to them books that have had, serious themes. I mean, I read the Chronicles of Narnia with my 6-year-old a couple of years ago, which has a lot of very intense themes. And I think the best literature often is about death or has those elements of it. And they internalize those things and they learn to use them in real life. So when there is loss or when there's sadness, they have a rich store of stories to fall back on and to see how somebody else has dealt with it. And it's amazing if you read enough to your kids and you read real literature, and not just things that are, age appropriate. It's amazing how much they can take in and give back to you. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of things happen by osmosis, right? So, I mean, if you live in an environment that has great choices, I think, they'll only have good choices to make from. But eventually, the world culture, it seeps in. And we really, in our house, we try to limit exposure to things that we think are, like, we don't have a TV in our house. Like, our kids have never seen a commercial. And it's not a radical thing. They still see plenty of media, but they see it on a screen that we give them sort of access to things that we like. And maybe that's sort of going too far. Maybe they do need to see that because that's in the world. But I think kids surprise you. I think really younger kids they might tend towards the sort of the pink or the obnoxious. Uh, but as they go on, they start to surprise you with the choices that they're making. And I think you are their best model, and kids are usually wanting to be you or rebelling against you, and so you're on one end of that spectrum throughout your life.